My name is John Mlynczak, and I studied with Jim from 2005 to 2008 and had the honor of performing with him many times up until 2016, until I left Baton Rouge. And when I think about Jim, I think about three things, right? Lifelong learner, efficiency, and consistent. Jim was an encyclopedia of trumpet knowledge. There was not a question he could not answer in great detail. Yet, every time I talked to him, he was trying to learn something new. He was experimenting with a new way of playing. And that lifelong pursuit of knowledge is something that's so inspiring to me. And I always think about that when I think about Jim. He always strived for efficiency, right? How much longer could you play on a gig with less effort to be an incredibly efficient player, right? More air, more power, more pressure is not always the answer. And Jim certainly taught all his students that and demonstrated that in many ways. And then consistency, right? I don't know if I ever heard Jim miss a note. It was just absolute consistent. And when I think about someone that strives for that level of accuracy at all times, always trying to learn something new and being as efficient as possible, I just can't thank Jim enough for those lessons that he taught me about trumpet and how to live your life far beyond a trumpet. So thank you, Jim, for all of those lessons. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak about Jim. And I will say that his lessons will be paid forward for many, many generations to come. Thank you.
My name is Tim Zifer, and I served as Jim West's trumpet TA from 1991 to 1996. I received my master's and doctorate from Louisiana State University. And obviously Jim was my trumpet professor. And we're asked to share a memory. And in lieu of sharing a memory, the memories I'll keep to myself. But what I want to say is that Jim developed me through his mentorship, both as a teacher and as a friend, to become a better person, a better player, and a better teacher. And that still lives with me today as a university professor. And so those memories that exist with me today, I'll carry through all my profession and teachings. And I did get to tell him how much he meant to me. The only regret I have is that I didn't get to visit with him one more time. But the influence he had on me as a person, a player, and a teacher is just incredible. And I will miss him dearly. And I'm so thankful for the education that I received from him and Louisiana State University.
I auditioned for 3 different grad schools. After my audition and my first lesson with Mr. West, I instantly knew that's where I had to go and that's who I had to study with. He was always very patient with all of us, and you could tell his passion for performing and teaching was very genuine. I always felt very at ease when I walked into his office, and although there were times I walked in, feeling upset about something or just really stressed out, his quirkiness just made you smile and laugh. Today, because of him, I'm doing what I love to do, and that's performing. And he was very supportive about my career choice. He just always believed in us.
Hey folks, Richardson here. One of my favorite memories of Jim is really not just one memory, it's a general memory of his incredible sense of humor, often self-effacing and often quite bawdy, jokes that maybe could not be repeated in this context, but he brought a wonderful lightness to every situation he was in, both as a teacher and as a performer, and it's something I'll really miss about him. Thank you, Jim.
This is Patrick Tuck. My wife Erin and I would like to express our deepest condolences to Catherine and Annette and to your families. As hard as it is for us to process what we learned last week, we can't imagine what it's like for you. I want you to know that I'll carry Jim's lessons with me for the rest of my life. He made me not just a better player or teacher, but a better person. He made me a better father and a better husband. Our thoughts are with you. Peace to you both. and to your families.
Hey, this is still very hard to process that we lost Professor James West. You know, it's very important in my life and my career as a trumpet player, musician. Even though sometime at LSU didn't always practice as much as I should, get into those etudes, but all these lessons were worth everything. I still have all your markings in my Charlie A book, all my other method books, and I miss those sauerkraut parties, you know, cooked in garlic and beer. It was my first time ever trying that. Thank you so much for giving me the career that I have today as a professor of music, professional trumpet player. Thank you, Jim West. God bless you and your family.
I have so many great memories of my time at LSU studying with Jim West. I remember a lot of little things like the the suspenders with the belt that he always wore, the stopwatch that was always around his neck, the hip shuffly walk as he was going up and down the hallways of the School of Music, and that snidely whiplash laugh whenever he thought something was really funny. You know, the but I think my favorite memory from being around Mr. West was his curiosity. He was truly a lifelong learner. He was always looking to grow as an artist, as a musician, as a trumpet player, and always looking to learn new things about music and playing the trumpet. And as a young person, that was really profound for me. I'm very grateful that I got to be around that and got to see that example. And Jim, just want you to know that you are loved, you are missed, and I'm very grateful for the time I got to spend around you. Thanks, Mr. West.
Some of my favorite memories of Jim involved how prepared he was. You know, Graham Breedlove already mentioned one of the things he loved about Jim was his suspenders and his belt and his stopwatch around his neck and all that. I remember on one of my recitals, he played on my first 2 faculty recitals with me on natural trumpet, which was pretty darn cool. And to one rehearsal, I remember Jim bringing his backpack. It sort of looked like a big turtle shell on the back with 6 or 7 different trumpets in it. And then he only had to play Baroque trumpet on it, and he was carrying his Baroque trumpet in his hand and a bag of mutes over here. He had everything he would need for any gig that could ever happen, even though he only needed 1 trumpet for this. So thank you, Jim, for everything you taught me and all your kindness. I'll never forget it. And be thinking of your memory, of course, and of your family, of Annette and Kat. And we're really going to miss you, Jim.
My name is Angela Finley, and I met Jim West back in 2007 when I joined the horn section of the Baton Rouge Symphony Orchestra. Jim West was very special to me. One thing that he said to me that will always stay with me is after a concert, I congratulated him on his playing, and he said, "I don't play trumpet, I play Jim West." And I'd never heard anybody say it that way before. You know, he put himself into his music, and that's what I heard that was so beautiful. And it inspires me to want to play Angela Finley into my horn all the time. That's always going to stay with me. That was very special. Something I really enjoyed about playing with Jim as well is one of my favorite memories, and something I intentionally did every season it came around, at Christmas Brass. Whenever Jim had an opportunity to put down his trumpet and listen to a harp play, or perhaps somebody else in the ensemble was being featured, he would just lean back and he would close his eyes and he would smile, and he would have the most blissful look on his face as if he'd been transported to heaven. And it inspired me, you know, that it isn't all business. When you're sitting down, remember how fortunate you are to be a part of something so beautiful. And along those lines, that's how he made me feel. I felt that being in the symphony with him and my colleagues was really a privilege, and he made it clear that he felt that way, that he was very fortunate to have been in the Baton Rouge Symphony Orchestra for so long, that was something not everybody gets to do, and he was very lucky to do it. And as a new member of the orchestra, as a first-time member of a professional symphony orchestra, he made me feel worthy of that privilege. And I will always be thankful to him for that. He helped me to feel confident enough to play my best. So I will remember him always, and he will be missed.
Hi, my name is Louie Eckhardt, and I did my DMA at LSU from 2012 to 2015, and got to play a whole bunch of gigs with Jim and Baton Rouge Symphony and church jobs and weddings after he retired. And one thing that pops out, we were doing a thing for Robbie over at the cathedral. Craig Heinzen was there. He probably remembers this too. And Jim sitting there warming up, and he brings a C trumpet up and plays the first movement of the Telemann in the right octave, cold. Nailed it, pianissimo, most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Just kind of puts his trumpet down, looks around, does it again, nails it, beautiful. Puts his trumpet down, and finally he does it a third time, and I'm sitting here just floored like, oh my gosh, how is he doing that? And then he just kind of turns and nonchalantly says, yeah, I guess I'm warm now. it just floored me. One of the most amazing things I've ever heard, and I'll always remember that about Jim. So thanks for everything, Jim. I learned a lot from you, and gonna miss you.
As one might expect, I have many, many memories of Jim West. We did countless concerts together, and he was one of those players that truly shaped the musical personality of the orchestra. He was like a rock back there, just beautiful, flawless playing, and totally dependable all the time.
Hi, my name is Craig Heinzen. I am one of Jim West's trumpet students, and I am honored to have been Jim West's second trumpet player for about 15 years with the Baton Rouge Symphony. One of my favorite Jim memories is when he did the Unanswered Question with the Baton Rouge Symphony.
The one memory that really stands out for me from Jim was our performance of Charles Ives' The Unanswered Question.
And Tim Muffitt, our conductor, decided to put the strings in the pit for this performance.
We had put the string section in the pit at the River Center, so they were out of view of the audience, and the stage was totally black. We had just two spotlights. One spotlight on the flute quartet that was extreme stage left, and the other spotlight on the solo trumpeter on the extreme stage right.
So the stage was pretty barren, and then the string sound came up out of the pit. It was really cool.
Those of you that know the piece know this is a high-pressure job to begin with, but imagine if you are there virtually alone on stage and in the spotlight.
End of the piece, Tim decided that he wanted the lights to go down in the hall completely, on stage, in the audience, everywhere, as the last few notes sounded. So they did it at rehearsal. It was wonderful, an amazing effect. So concert night, everything sounded great, strings out of the pit, everybody on stage sounded wonderful, and as you can probably tell from where this story is going, about a minute before the end of the piece, the lights went completely down. They faded completely to nothing. It was dark on stage, it was dark in the audience. My heart went into my throat, and I was just watching, and what I heard was Jim play his last couple of passages impeccably. I mean, they were perfect.
And true to form, Jim was totally unflappable. He delivered a remarkable performance, flawless, with such composure and such grace, and so beautiful as anyone could imagine.
And so I ran backstage afterward and said to Jim, like, oh my gosh, that was amazing, or something like that. And Jim was just grace under pressure, not a big deal, Heinzen, whatever kind of thing. And so it's one of my Jim memories. So Jim, we're gonna miss you, and thank you.
It remains among my most memorable musical experiences with the Baton Rouge Symphony. But we'll miss you, Jim. Rest in peace.